Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scuttlebutt. I think this is 2, 3.
This is the third numbered episode. We had our episode 0. I don't know what.
I had to
It's
start with a
somewhere in the
section
ether, right?
0 just to confuse it all.
Yeah, sure.
It's good D&D etiquette. I think
Y'all
isn't it
had an
good
episode.
podcast etiquette?
Issue 0, issue half.
All right. And with that,
You all right there?
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
getting any sound, am I?
I can hear you all right.
But we can't hear the theme song.
Oh,
That's
no. Yeah.
not good. What's going
Well,
on?
we got to have that.
Yeah, all right. Let's see if this technical difficulty will persist here. There we go.
Max and Kieran talk every week. Dumb movies, fun games. Shady opinions you wouldn't see. Middle-aged, lazy, kinda lame. The only goal is to
Come on,
trouble
AI.
stuff. Roll their
Oh,
eyes
yeah.
like good enough. Talk bad movies and TV shows. Share some highs and lows. Max and Kieran making laugh sometimes, but times are rad.
Max and Kieran make you laugh. That's a tall order.
We're in the season of bad political promises.
That's right.
It's okay, right?
Mhm.
I desperately think I want to update that song, but we'll see if I ever get around to it. The only thing that's accurate about it is the laziness, and in fact, I believe it's probably been a good 10 days since we last chatted about songs that we would want played at our funeral. And if that sounds interesting, you should go back and listen to that one.
That's right.
And so this week, I think we're sticking to the norms of our plan and talking about kind of dumb stuff that we think is awesome, which is the I think the rough mission statement of what I'm hoping to get out of these talks.
I had an interesting brainstorm about that very topic recently. Like kind of getting at, I had a random memory about something that happened to me when I was about 10, 11, 12, something like that. And I realized, I think this is like a core memory. This is an event. This is, an inciting event. And I was about, like I said, 10, 11, 12. I went with my dad and his, his California Bay Area family back east, where where they grew up. Where he was born in New Jersey, where my grandparents grew up and were married, and it was for a family reunion, birthday party for my great grandfather, and. While we were there, we went up to the Catskills to the Nevele Resort, where my grandparents honeymooned after they were married. Oh, it was Catskills.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've never been. All I know about it is
and you never will now. They're all Nevele's gone. All those places are long gone. Concord, I think, is gone.
Yeah.
But while we were there, I got the full experience. So I went to, they had like the nightly show, and where they'd have like a lounge acts, basically. I went one night, I skipped one night for some reason, and they had the band Jay and the Americans, and everyone was talking about, Jay and the Americans was swell. I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I went the next night with my family, and we got a bad lounge singer named Errol Dante, who also told some bad jokes. And he opened for a bad comedian who also sang badly. It was, and the whole time I'm like, I was acutely aware, like, this is not for me, but I love this.
Yeah.
This is terrible, and it's awesome.
I can think of numerous. Yeah, well, I can't think of them offhand, but that's a vibe I really respect and I love. Like that it's like a discovery of an ability to enjoy something bad. You
Yeah,
know,
it's like
where it's there's
unlocking a doorway in your brain that you never knew
totally
was there. You know?
totally. I don't know. And I feel like I discovered so much legitimately good stuff through that like pathway
Yeah,
where like you're like maybe like you're 15 and you're watching like bad anime late at night and you kind of like are like but like you see like one thing that kind of blows your mind a little bit and then you begin exploring and getting further and further and then all of a sudden like I don't know, maybe you're enriching yourself into a whole new art form.
yeah.
uh this is a philosophy I stick to as a parent. You know, I kind of let my kids watch a lot of shitty YouTube because I'm just like, I kind of feel like you have to really maybe even get a little obsessive about something really crappy before you start like picking apart why it's crappy and then being like, actually, this might be a metric for figuring out what is really good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you figure out, things are bad right off the bat pretty much. But, knowing something, discovering whether something is good can take a little longer to figure out. The minute the guy starts singing, the Neville theme song, I was like, oh, I'm in for a treat. Yeah, this is bad, but in a great, great way. But sometimes, things that are great, you might take you a couple times watching it to realize, oh no, this is really something. This is something I could not necessarily digest fully the first time. It needed to marinate and maybe be viewed again. But something sublimely awful, you get that right off the bat.
Yes, and I feel like it often exposes context where there's like, ooh, there's because sometimes, especially if you encounter this stuff like a little bit randomly, like it's telling you something about where you are in your life, where you are at that moment, and uh, it's often like there's an element of absurdity to it or weirdness where you're listening to some shitty lounge singer and you're like, I'm in a bar in the Catskills listening to a shitty lounge singer, like what sequence of events in my life led me here? And then like it just gives you these like delightful moments of clarity, maybe. um and I also think that liking bad things gives you space to sort of like notice like yourself liking it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like deeply moving, it's not like a profound like, oh my god, this is seriously affecting me. It's like, oh man, how great of a time am I having right now?
Yeah.
And like that's a pretty delightful self-reflection maybe. So I think today's topic is kind of your suggestion. So like what space were you in that you received the vibes to enjoy what we're going to talk about?
All right. So, what I watched was I've watched twice now in the span of about a week because the first time I watched was not. I knew I was enjoying it. I was not fully absorbing it. Like I said, sometimes you have to kind of marinate on a thing and
Yes.
come back to it. So what we watched was Godzilla, the unfortunately titled, I will say, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
It's an unfortunately bad title,
It's
which
not good.
fits well. It's a great title in a way because it's just like, wait, what? Like what hodgepodge alphabet soup did they pull that out of?
This blank X blank thing. It's like I've only noticed that in like the last year or two.
Is that an MMA thing? It feels like I see a lot of posters of like dudes like grimacing about to make out, like with a like X in between them.
I feel like it was originally like artistic collaborations, like you would see, like
like at
you know,
raves
he's
and
the
shit.
X some artist, like,
yeah,
this is a monster movie. It's
because
not
they're crossing, and it's
Yeah,
so it's like they're crossing the streams, and it's just like, dude, Godzilla and Kong Kong were meant to be together forever, but whatever.
Yeah.
They're crossing the streams.
But I don't like this construction. I think this is a silly.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was some yeah, they should not be doing that. Just call it there's already a word for when two things come together. It's an ampersand. It was right there. You don't need an X. But anyway. So have you seen the rest of the Monsterverse movies?
I have. I think I can frame the context here. So Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, I believe is number 5 of the Monsterverse. And generally speaking, I've enjoyed most of the Monsterverse movies. And we don't need to go into a whole like tier list scaling. I think first was pretty artsy, right? Was it Gareth Reynolds? The first one was like artsy Godzilla, and the second one was a little bit goofy. It was Kong Skull Island.
It was a great movie.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. It was like John Goodman and the 70s, and just Kong fighting giant lizards in a jungle the way we all want him to.
Helicopters blasting CPRs, they fly over the island. It's what, during the Vietnam War, it's what you want.
Totally. And the third one's kind of the dip. The third one is Godzilla King of Monsters, where he fights Godira. I don't even know the name.
Ghidorah, yeah.
Ghidorah. And I only saw it once, and I remember being pretty disappointed. Where it was like they're flying around some boomerang ship and making a big deal about like obvious CG fights, and it just wasn't grounded.
I remember the bad guys were very left coded, like eco terrorists.
Right.
Like,
I remember that too.
Like, I don't like that.
I mean, I actually, speaking of enjoying bad things, there's a lot of like, I don't think like the right wing does a lot of great media, but sometimes they do really good bad media. And I not that I would necessarily say that the Monsterverse in general, or even necessarily that movie specifically, was sort of like deeply right wing, but actually I kind of want to talk about the environmental themes of the Monsterverse movies. But to get back to our synopsis, so number 3, kind of the dip, like a little bit of like, okay, they fight a giant monster, and it's all pretty.
I remember liking it more than the first Godzilla movie, just because like this one actually had, some canonical, you had Ghidorah in there. I think Mothra was in there. What else?
It was definitely the first hard turn towards kaiju goofiness.
Yeah.
And I think they introduced Mothra and some, which is classic. And like the first movie, Godzilla, Gareth Edwards one, was actually super artsy. Like he went like very like, you don't really even see Godzilla till like the pretty far into the movie, and it's all.
And then you barely see him when he is
there. Yeah. And yeah, so the third one's kind of a dip. Then they finally Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes.
And that was total MMA cheeseball, like wrestling move, like destroy a city, having lots of fun. And I think we're gonna maybe have a general spoiler alert on this on this podcast.
Can you really spoil a giant monster?
These are not movies, yes, that are spoiled by spoilers. Like they're all pretty formulaic. The fun surprise of the fourth movie is they introduce Mechagodzilla as sort of the ultimate villain, so that Godzilla and Kong, after beating each other up, can finally team up and beat up Mechagodzilla,
who has King Ghidorah's brain.
Yes, and that was a blast. I remember feeling like a little swerved on it, and then like I embraced it, and I was all, this is great. I love it.
Yep.
And then finally we have number 5, recently released, The New Empire, which introduces some pretty wild stuff. It introduces Mini Kong. It introduces I don't know, Hitler Kong. It introduces and like the funniest part is like there's the majority of Godzilla in the movie is just wandering around, tearing up cities, and absorbing energy. Like he barely fights.
Yeah, I read this was the least amount of Godzilla
Yeah.
in one of these movies. I think there's like only 8 minutes of Godzilla, which, you know, but what's there is great.
It is great. It is great.
He's taking a nap in the Coliseum. He's, knocking over the Bridge of Sighs. Just trashing whatever is it, just with the, at least kind of, King Kong kind of steps around,
So,
the works of man.
yeah,
I
I
like,
mean,
fuck you. I'm moving in a straight line. I don't care what pyramid is in the way.
that's right. They fight at the pyramids. I mean, you're watching these movies to watch like historical landmarks just get destroyed, but but that's a good point to a little bit of the like environmental like thematics as I'm watching this, and there's a weird relief I'm feeling watching them totally destroy cities and take out like monuments, and I'm like, where's that even coming from? And there was a sense of like maybe this is a little far-fetched, but like I found myself kind of like feeling a certain amount of climate change relief, where like it just felt great to like watch a universe where we are just absolutely not like top dog like out like just exploitive predators on the planet, like all like they've built this entire world where all of a sudden we're relegated to just the ants beneath the feet of uncaring animals. And there was just like a weird George Carlin-esque like retro like sense of almost like righteous retribution, like there's maybe pinging weird fucked up like Malthusian leftist sympathies for the planet.
Yeah.
I don't know how to like really put it, but like there's a little bit of sense like, yes, Earth, kill us. I like it.
Well, yeah, I think that was something like the earlier movies really kind of hammered on a little more, was like, it's like, oh, we're not the masters of this planet.
Yeah.
Gojira is, and and the kaiju, and we're, nothing we can do to the planet will match what they can do to us. But but I think in the last movie they were just like, there's there's themes, but there's also environmental themes and man's place in the world, but also there's a hollow Earth that's full of dinosaurs, and and you get there via dimensional portals.
Sort of. Weird
like,
little gravity, like it's I love the rubberiness of it. Like they go through a gravity inversion, and they all have like this like cosmos like black hole, like it's just a chance for actors to like mug into the camera going blah, as like lights are going past them, which is delightful. It's very all the way back to 2001. This is a stupid movie, and as far as I can tell, like a lot of people that have watched it, that I've seen, like that among my friends, they all hated it. The tomatometer, I'm looking at it, puts the critic reviews at 54%, but an audience score of 91%.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So I think we are being cheerful plebeians here, just enjoying the hell out of something that is critically panned.
Something doesn't have to be good to be awesome.
No, not at all.
It is known.
So you have done your homework more than I. I watched this with my fam, and like in the middle of it, my daughter was like, oh, I've got a headache, and I was like taking care of her and stuff, and I was really bumming out because I was enjoying the hell out of it. But I think I caught most of the beats. But you like took some notes. Like, walk us through some of your favorite moments, the standout like bits. They were just like, oh, this is delightful.
Okay, the very first opening shot, pterodactyls flying over, this landscape with mountains above and below somehow, and it says somewhere in hollow Earth. And it was like I was like the Rick and Morty meme of like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I already knew this was a thing from the last movie. It was like, oh, we're gonna spend 90% of this movie in the Hollow Earth. I'm like, ka-ching.
Now, have you ever read Arthur Conan Doyle's, like, he
No.
wrote the book about Hollow Earth?
Right,
I
right.
never read it. All I know is that, like, it's like a pulp trope,
Right.
and like and I know it mostly like from role-playing games, honestly, where like the pulp genre is just as completely absorbed into itself that like the Nazis were trying to find the entrance to the Hollow Earth, and like and that's where all the like primordials and like jungle queens and Slee Stacks and who knows what else
I mean,
are down
it
there.
used to be like kind of, I don't want to say an accepted theory. I mean, I think it was always kind of fringe. But it was
Jules
like, I think like
Verne.
one of the early presidents, like Madison or something, or Monroe, like sponsored an expedition to the Hollow Earth.
Yes.
They were gonna like go in through like the Arctic Circle or something. Like, yeah, it's like a president believed this might be a possibility. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things. So it's like, okay, we'll have this and come up with some kind of, you know, pseudo-scientific mumbo jumbo to, I mean, that's the thing about, like, you know, they go through, you know, it's, you don't go through like a tunnel to get to it, like in old movies, like Journey to the Center of the Earth or something. It's like, no, it's like a dimensional portals that are all over the planet. It's like, why doesn't it just go to another universe? Why is this canonically, and it's in somewhere inside the Earth?
Hey, there's some fun like Inception like shots of like double landscapes.
Yeah.
And my niece was yelling like, "Where's the sun come from?" They don't even explain it. Like, it doesn't matter.
Just repeat to yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so killer opening right there. I'm on board. And then you come to you have like a TED talk or something from Rebecca Hall's character, and I have no idea what these people's names are, except no, yeah, I don't even think I know.
When I listen to podcasts, it's always better when they refer to the actors.
Oh yeah,
because then it's
Rebecca
like,
Hall.
Rebecca
Hall and her adopted kid, whose name I do not know.
Boy,
so Rebecca Hall's giving a TED talk or something, and they show the Chiron on screen. It's like, head of Kong research. And my wife goes, "This is why STEM education is so important."
Yeah,
like, yeah, girls, you know, if we get that education in there, you know, that it will be STEAM, science, technology, engineering, apes, and math.
Yep.
Yeah, you too. You can be Rebecca Hall when you grow up. And so there's these portals all over the planet, and this group Monarch, they've kind of have seeded throughout the movies. They're like some kind of,
they're the kaiju monitoring,
like non-governmental
multinational
entities
multinational kaiju monitors or whatever.
And King Kong comes out of one of the portals with an infected tooth, like an impacted molar.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, we got to take care of this, because apparently, like, Godzilla knows when another kaiju shows up, and then he goes nuts and has to go kill it because he's king of the monsters.
Yeah, as long as Kong is in Hollow Earth and Godzilla is up on surface, everything's okay. It becomes a huge plot point that I couldn't quite follow, like later on, where they were like, we're gonna defeat Hitler Kong by getting these two to fight.
Right. Yeah, so that's when our co-hero Dan Stevens,
a great introduction. Kong
is
dentist,
introduced
helicopter pilot, Kong dentist.
He's a veterinarian who flies around on a hovercraft with an inexplicable Australian accent. Because I think somebody whispered in it, like, he was like, "How do I get to the kernel of this character?" And somebody, whispered to him, "You're a Steve Irwin that fucks."
Yeah.
and you're gonna dress full parrot head.
I mean,
and he's like, Oh, I got it.
He's a great character because he gets introduced as like the epitome of machismo. Like you're expecting this guy to be Steve Irwin masculinity, and then he completely subverts it the rest of the film by being like the most like sensitive, tender-hearted, like beta male, like
Yeah.
in touch, like like guy. It's really delightful. I was surprised how quickly that character won me over.
He just, he shows up. He's already like has all of the equipment he needs,
Yeah,
including giant ape anesthetics to treat Kong. Yanks his tooth out, replaces it with some kind of crazy steel one. And so, because Kong didn't look awesome enough. And he's got a big old metal fang there. And sends him back on his merry way. Back to the Hollow Earth, where he kind of bumbles around, I think. I think he's like,
they
rewind
establish
back.
he's lonely.
Yeah.
They establish he's lonely and sad, and this is because he's got this rapport with one of two plucky young women. This is sort of like the Iwi native woman who was like kind of this deaf tribeswoman from Skull Island,
Right, last of her tribe.
Yeah, and
they establish sign language with Kong.
They'd established in the previous movie that there was this at one time this civilization of Kongs. Like he makes it to this great hall,
right.
And finds the magic axe, and he finds the throne, and he sits on it, brooding like Conan, and like wondering at the loss of his empire.
Right.
So yeah, they established that Kong is lonely in Hollow Earth, and everyone feels sorry for him.
Right. Yeah, and actually going back, the establishing his like fucked up tooth, he was trapping a bunch of monsters down there in the Hollow Earth, and you're showing that he knows how to construct very complicated traps. That he's like setting off, but
he figured out sign language
leading them into traps that he can set off, and that's something I really liked, as an evolution of Kong from his first movie. It's like, well, his brain is the size of a Humvee. Why wouldn't he be pretty smart, right?
Yeah.
He's the 100-foot tall, hominid, essentially. I think they call him like a megalopithecus or something like that. So he's not quite an ape, and he's not a man. He's just kind of, he figured out how to trap different monsters, and at one point he kills a bunch with like a falling boulder trap, and like a few of them are like crawling out above it and like, oh no, yeah, you ran out of traps, Kong. Now what's it gonna be? And he lifts one of their dead bodies over his head, rips it in half, and just covers himself in their green goo. Which they look at and go, oh, this fucker's crazy, and run away. And then he goes and takes a shower under a waterfall.
Yep. And they just a little bit like the first movie. They make some fun musical choices.
Yeah.
Of Kong's, like the day in the life of Kong, and they give him a little bit of like a working Joe, like schlub, like routine where it's just like, I'm a giant lonely ape in the Lost World, and I just got to do my shit every day.
Yep, I get up in the morning, rip some, trap some monsters, rip a few in half, take a shower.
I know, I think Andy Serkis did the motion capture for Skull Island. Do you think he's still doing it?
I don't think he did. I thought it was Toby Kebbell.
Oh, maybe.
Because he was also played a character in the movie, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he was. Serkis was Kong and Peter Jackson.
The Peter Jackson one, because Andy Serkis and Peter Jackson are homies.
Right.
But I mean, like the motion capture is solid. Like the emotionality of Kong, which is full, like he's a brooder. He's brooding.
Yep.
Conan Kong, essentially. Like you don't fuck with him. He's incredibly powerful, and he's grumpy about it. But he's also like, but he's not like a total asshole. He's not like, psychotic in any way. And we see that later when he meets the mini Kong, So does coming to the surface for the dental appointment that triggers Godzilla? I guess Godzilla's like, oh, I'm waking up in the Coliseum. I gotta go kick Kong's butt.
Yeah, I think they have Kong, or they have Godzilla fight some other kaiju first, or
There's a great
sort of,
montage, right? There's like kind of like 3 different kaijus, and they had a lot of fun. They let the monster concept artists like kind of go wild, showing Godzilla killing some big tentacle beast, killing some other thing. I want to go back and watch that part because they had some fun monster design.
yeah, they did. Yeah, the Tiamat was
Yeah.
big. Yeah, I was a little disappointed as as we are D&D nerds that did not have 5 heads.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, they just drop that name like it means nothing to us. But yeah, so the scientists, Rebecca Hall and Dan Stevens and Brian Tyree Henry, who was in the last movie, shows up for some reason.
Generic goofball nerd, like every movie
They're like,
has to have one, right?
we
The
need you to-
wisecracking nerd is in over his head all the time.
Yeah, like he kind of does some homework for Rebecca Hall,
Yeah,
and he's like,
he figures
his
out
goals are into letting
there's an
humans
SOS
go.
or something. This is a distress call
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
Hollow Earth.
Rebecca Hall's daughter is getting, spoilers, like telepathic
Spikes. They
yeah,
go big on the spikes.
yeah. She's getting some kind of telepathic messages from something going on in the Hollow Earth. So Rebecca Hall is like, okay, well, I'm going to take you, and we're going to go down, and we're going to go to the base we have, in the Hollow Earth to see what's up. So they get down there, and the base has been completely destroyed by what appears to be giant apes. They leave a big bloody handprint.
Yep.
They know it's not Kong, but they're like, well, what the hell is this? And around the same time, you got Kong meeting Baby Kong. I think his
Mini
name,
Kong, as the captains put it.
Yeah, I IMDb'd the whole thing. The Baby Kong is named Suko. This is kind of little red ape thing, except that it's 10 or 15 feet tall, I'm sure. So one thing I didn't like about this movie that I felt like Skull Island did really well was showing the scale of Kong.
Yeah.
There were shots like in Skull Island where, I mean, besides, him swatting at helicopters and stuff, just, him marching along through forests and, and walking into lakes to bathe himself, where you get this sense of the scale of him that I felt like this movie and the last movie didn't really do as well. It's just like, okay, well, he's Kong, so I know he's huge.
I would agree with that. It felt a little fast and loose even sometimes, like maybe inconsistent. Mini Kong is smaller than Kong. We never really get to compare him to like how big he'd be next to one of us, for instance. And in fact, a considerable amount of Kong's story with the Kong Empire, if you will, doesn't even involve people. And in fact, there's sort of like, you're following, if I recall correctly, sort of 3 different through lines. There's Godzilla just powering up on the surface. There's
because
Kong.
Godzilla is receiving the same messages that Rebecca's daughter is. That, so he's going out on just, a kaiju hunt to just absorb, or, just absorb as much radiation as he can. So he goes after this Tiamat, who has some kind of weird pink radiation. So kills that thing, absorb it, and and I have to say, MAGA people must not have seen this, because I'm sure somebody in the MAGA sphere was really pissed off that suddenly Godzilla is glowing pink.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, I'm sure they're imagining the DEI meeting that came up with that. Oh man. So yeah, there's sort of 3 through lines. There's Kong powering up. He spends the whole movie just powering up. There's Kong looking for other Kongs, and he's like on this sort of quest to like find them. And then the people are like, we heard this distress signal coming through psychic waves, and we have to find that. And I'm trying to remember which points they converge, because like the people are like following Kong a little bit, but then he loses them at some point and then that's when they find the lost Iwi tribe.
Right.
It turns out there's people in the lost world
who maybe originated from there. It's like it sounds like there were like parallel civilizations between the one.
The whole point of it is so that the actors can look at murals and construct a big story and talk about what the ultimate big bad is going to be.
Right.
It's just that was what Skull Island was. It's like they find a tribe of people and like, you know, then it's just like, oh wait, let's learn the legend and let's have lots of shots of people pointing at, like, you know, big monkeys fighting things.
So yeah, they so Kong encounters this
Mini Kong, whichever. And I love the fact that Mini Kong's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like this is a little scrappy. Like, I was worried that it was going to be like a Scrappy Doo scenario, or it was just going to be like, oh, they're going to make this little tiny Kong like adorable, and it's going to be so annoying. But no, like Mini Kong's kind of a punk. He like bites Kong, and he's like
bites Kong.
He's trying to he tries to get him like to be eaten by a giant sea monster. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I guess he was kind of there as like to draw out Kong so that, you know, the fully grown giant apes can go after Kong themselves.
I just figured it was like child soldier scenario, where
yes,
like,
like
we're sending our adolescents out to like die horribly in the lost earth, like hunting for stuff.
So yeah, there's like 3 of these other ape soldiers that Kong just thoroughly bodies.
Yeah.
He picks up the child Kong and is using him as a club against him. And they become friends after that.
It takes a little while. Kong has to share some food, and then they have like,
amount of time.
You know, some body language, like moments of like, wait, maybe this guy isn't such a huge jerk, and you know, maybe this kid
Kong
deserves.
Doesn't go running off. He's just like, okay, well, you beat up these other guys that I didn't really like anyway. Maybe you're all right. You know, and like Kong's like feeding him. You're like, here you go, kid. have your giant snake.
the snake that the Mini Kong had lured him in to like be eaten by. That was a pretty fun fight.
Kong is nothing if not forgiving.
He's always having to like kill something huge, and then he's just like, yeah, I did that for you. That's what I do.
So they Kong they head back to Baby Kong's tribe, and they're building something. They're moving rocks.
There's some big labor camp. And it's at this point that the human expedition, our Kong dentist, our plucky nerd, our scientist, and her daughter, like they find the Iwi tribe. The Iwi tribe, it turns out, they're the ones that were calling for help. They were sending the psychic signal. They live in this like ziggurat underneath all these crystals, and they worship something big. And then they're pointing to some prophecy on the wall. And the prophecy is that basically there's Kong Hitler.
Yeah.
And they're like, once Kong Hitler makes it to the surface or figures out how to get to the surface, it's all over.
That Godzilla had trapped the Ape Hitler down there, and Ape Hitler has his own kaiju monster that caused the Ice Age. Caused the last Ice Age. So while they're explaining that, then Kong encounters Ape Hitler, who rides around on a dragon, like a white dragon from Dungeons and Dragons that he controls with the magic crystal that he uses like a remote control.
Yes.
By pointing it at...
What else does Ape Hitler have? So he's got a magic crystal to control the frost dragon. He's got a cool vertebrae whip. Yeah. With something on the end of it. I'm trying to remember.
Well, it had the magic.
It had the control crystal
on the end of it. And let's see. Yeah, he has he's kind of odd looking, like he's oddly long armed, like his arms are almost like reaching the ground.
Yeah, they
He's
make him
red.
kind of lanky and chimpanzee-ish, and he's
Yeah.
like, they do a lot of really good sneering. You know, like he sits on his throne, he's just sneering. You just feel this imperiousness like roll off of him. And I think that Kong meets Ape Hitler. They stare down each other and they fight. And I think Ape Hitler kind of kicks Kong's ass.
Oh, well, yeah. He gets his dragon to like breathe
Frost up his
frost
arm,
all over
yeah.
his arm, which gives him frostbite.
Yep.
And Kong barely escapes. The Kid Kong kind of helps him, shows him a cave he can go hide in to escape. And scientists come across Kong all messed up. He just sort of like collapses and faints in front of them with an earthquake. And that's when one of my favorite parts happens. Like, well, they're like, what are we going to do about, Kong's arm? It's not, he's not going to last with one arm here. And they call in, like the Hulkbuster suit in the Avengers 2.
Right.
A little flying machine comes down with Project Powerhouse. It's like, well, we knew someday Kong might have to fight something he couldn't handle on his own. So we've been busy making bionic parts for King Kong.
I mean, look, they fought Mechagodzilla in the last movie, so clearly they've embraced the power of technobionics, like.
So yeah, Kong gets this big huge fist that looks like the power loader arm from Aliens.
Yep.
And yeah, it powers up. It heals up his arm somehow. Gives him the nanites or whatever. and one thing I went on the IMDb after I finished watching it. I like to do that for all these crazy ass movies, and one of the things it said was, and suddenly the whole movie kind of made sense, was that you find out that what the director was going for was 80s toy commercials.
Yeah.
That was like one of his big inspirations. And I could just see like, the 80s commercials like, look out, Godzilla, it's Scar King and Shima with frost breath. And then you have like the dinosaur thing and it'll like shoot out, like crazy string or something. It's like, but here comes Kong with the powerhouse bionic arm. Take that, Hitler.
and it works.
Guitar scream.
It works.
Monster
I felt like a 12-year-old. Like I was just watching it, like eating popcorn, just saying, like, "Fuck yeah!" Like more, please.
Oh yeah.
yes, please give Kong the bionic arm.
Yeah, well, escalation of bad guys. Okay, well, so Kong needs a bionic arm now to fight the new bad guy, and in the next movie they'll have trouble bubbles that he'll fly around in, like Cobra and GI Joe. So. But yeah, 80s toys and 70s rock. There was a big lot of inscrutable 70s rock for some reason throughout the movie. Like the flying machine that the scientists fly around in is pre-programmed with like
Yeah.
the shitty Kiss disco song, I Was Made for Loving You. What else? It was like Badfinger, like golden earring. like, sure, why not? I guess we get these cheap, and we can't just fly around and not blast, Radar Love or whatever. So here we go.
So in the middle of all this, a portal to the surface world opens somehow. Everyone's worried that Ape Hitler's going to go up there, and Ape Hitler sent one of his thugs to like follow Kong and report back or something, and then at the same time, the daughter wakes up Mothra, and it turns out that the Iwi tribe worship Mothra.
Yeah.
And what opens the portal? I'm trying to remember.
Well, they had a portal. The Iwi had their own portals in
Yeah.
their kingdom that were unmarked basically by the people on the surface world. They didn't know where they go, but the Scar King, the Ape Hitler, is trying to get to those so he can get to the surface world and wreck shit up. with his frost dragon, and they come out. Yeah, they're able to get through their defenses. Which, did you understand any of that stuff? The magic crystals that affect gravity that they're using.
I mean, I remember thinking it was really beautiful. Like they were filling the frame nicely, but no, I don't remember the plot, and I don't, and I may have been distracted by my daughter at this point, but like, I came back and they were coming out of a hole in Cairo.
Right. Okay. So they come out in Cairo. Well, Kong comes out in Cairo, and that's when Godzilla climbs up on the Rock of Gibraltar, and they show them screaming at each other, war cry at each other, and we're thinking, well, that's like at least 1,000 miles away from each other.
The kaiju don't care. They're gonna yell at each other just like it's across the kitchen table, just like it's like angry woman and cat meme, you know?
Right. Yeah. So Godzilla, swims very quickly over to Cairo, and they have a big fight at the Great Pyramid.
Yep.
Because you're not allowed to have a fight like in a random suburb somewhere.
They pick a city every movie, except in this one they pick two, because in this one, Ape Hitler and Frost Dragon come out in Rio de Janeiro.
And I gotta say, I thought it was really gutless of the filmmakers. They show they show all, here's the Colosseum, and there's Godzilla kind of trashing it by sleeping in it, and here's the Great Pyramids, and get completely destroyed by Godzilla, and Kong's fighting for really no reason. It's like they're going to team up, but first we have to fight, because that's a trope.
Yeah.
So one thing leads to another. They all end up with Ape Hitler, and with the establishing shot of Rio of Christ the Redeemer. I'm like, oh boy, come on.
Yeah.
Are they gonna do it?
Are they gonna?
They do not do it. They just thoroughly destroy Copacabana Beach.
Yep.
And every hotel along hundreds of thousands of people must have died. Like the Frost Dragon just sweeps the line of resorts along Copacabana. Just so many people dead. But you have to have the obligatory shot of Christ the Redeemer. I'm like, oh, we're really doing this? We're really doing this? And they're like, no, we're not doing it. God damn it.
You got to give the filmmakers credit for dangling that.
I give you no credit.
So, yeah, it's like Ape Hitler, Frost Dragon on one side, Godzilla and Kong, putting aside their differences, on the other side. Full tag team wrestling match. There's a suplex at one point.
Mothra shows up.
That's right. Mothra shows up. And
Mothra
I think the Frost Dragon is just too powerful and kind of like gets the upper hand and gets everybody on their back foot. And that's when Mini Kong shows up with the axe.
With the magic axe.
With the magic axe.
Lost to Ape Hitler earlier.
Yeah. And with the magic axe, that's how Kong breaks the crystal control over the Frost Dragon.
And the Frost Dragon just, unloads on Ape Hitler.
Yep.
And then Kong just kind of smashes him into, pink chunks.
Yeah. Yeah, delightful.
Beautiful.
And then it's just back to like normal. Like everybody, like the Ape Hitler's dead. The Frost Dragon realm wanders back down.
Kong, Mini Kong, and the Frost Dragon go back, and now that's the new empire.
Yeah, that's the family. They're the fam.
Previously enslaved giant apes are like, right on, it's Kong. He's some kind of king or something.
Coruscant, the emperor's dead. Yeah.
And he's got his new Frost Dragon buddy with him, and everybody roars in exultation. and roll credits.
Well, no, Godzilla goes back to the Coliseum and
Oh,
goes back to
Godzilla
his
goes
nap.
back to take a nap. Yeah. Godzilla just naps wherever he wants, and where he wants to nap
Yep.
is in the Coliseum. Which I got to figure, Italy, their tourism dollars must be really taking him. Taking it on the ear there. It's like, well, so pretty much they'll, he like walks over the Pantheon at one point. Yeah,
I mean, I have to imagine in that world, like there would be kaiju groupies, right? Like I think people would be like, "This is a draw. I want to go see Godzilla and maybe die."
well, yeah. I mean, there was like a news clip with a chyron something about like tourists in awe.
Yeah.
Like, who would even live in a big city like that at this point? Any day now, Godzilla or Mothra or something will just come through and trash the place with their fighting. Like I'm getting the hell away from any landmarks. Just move into the suburbs. Godzilla is not going to trash. I don't know. Gonna trash Peoria. Not when Chicago is right there.
Well, would you say, I don't know whether, because it feels like the last movie was the turn towards full goofiness.
Yes.
I mean, King of Monsters tried to stay serious, and I think that was a little bit of the flaw.
Yeah.
Like the Monarch and their special boomerang planes they were wringing their hands like a lot, and they were sort of the focus of the movie, and they were trying to act very serious about everything that was happened. And it wasn't until Godzilla versus Kong that it was just like, the humans don't really matter. Like, we'll bring a bunch of the actors back. We'll get Peter Skarsgård to be handsome and bumbling. But really, we're here to just watch wrestling moves done by giant rubbery monsters.
Yeah, Alexander Skarsgård in the last movie, he's like the weird fringe Hollow Earth guy who of course turns out to be right about everything. And they so that's how they brought all that. That was the point. Like, I remembered watching the last movie just out of, I don't know, some sense of obligation. Like, well, I watched these two middling to poor Godzilla movies, one awesome King Kong movie. Maybe, if Kong's in this one, it'll be all right. And that's when they show up with the Hollow Earth. I'm like, and we've got these weird, like, super, like spaceship things were flying around, and I'm like, they got the memo. They heard my telepathic call. Make this shit goofy. We don't need kaiju in a real world. We need kaiju in an awesome world.
The turn to goofiness last movie, and then this movie did feel like a full-throated embrace, like right from the get-go.
Oh yeah.
Like opening with Kong dentistry, it's just and I think if you embrace that, it's a delightful ride. It's just thoroughly watchable and enjoyable, I think, from start to finish.
And you do not need to know anything about these movies going in. I appreciate that. It's not a Marvel movie where you need to have seen every previous Marvel movie and maybe every Marvel TV show. I mean, it's enhanced. I mean, if you saw that last one, there's a Hollow Earth and it's full of dinosaurs and other bizarro creatures. Or run with it in this one. Who cares?
I mean, I'm not fluent in the 60 years of like Japanese kaiju legacy. I mean, I've seen a handful of them, and it's more like I do enjoy the universe making of it. But I've always assumed, I was assumed that like they were movies for like 12-year-olds to eat popcorn in front of, and it's just like And so
Yeah.
I found myself kind of wondering, like, am I missing like a lot of call outs here? I mean, like, I know who Mothra is and stuff, but like, I wonder, like how clearly they are paying homage to a lot of stuff. And as dumb as the world of building is, it's also kind of rich, or it feels kind of rich. It's kind of impressive. Like thinking of that montage of monsters that Godzilla is fighting. Like, I want to know more about a bunch of those monsters, and like, I kind of wonder if it's going to get like Star Wars syndrome, where like everything that's on screen for a couple of minutes like ends up getting a fully fleshed out backstory. Obviously it's not like Star Wars,
And a
it's
dumb
totally
name.
different, but yeah, I don't know, like, there is this is one of those things where I think they make these movies from a very style over substance like perspective,
There's no
and then
substance.
somehow like substance shows up. It's not good substance. It's not like, cohesive, thought-provoking substance, but it's just
No.
like you just want more of it anyway. Like, give it to me.
The substance is goo dripping all over King Kong.
Yeah.
That's the only substance I require from these. I don't need them to make some heavy-handed environmental, statement. Oh, Godzilla is here to balance the scales of. No. Godzilla is here to beat up other monsters. If you want to make up some bullshit about why Godzilla needs to fight Gamera,
he flip-flops, right? He's
do it.
protector of humanity, he's destroyer of humanity, he's protector of whatever's convenient to whatever's happening at the time.
He's an inscrutable god.
Yeah.
He's a 300-foot tall god that just does whatever he wants, destroys anything in his path, and but really only is there to fight other gods. So if you just stay out of his way and let him sleep in your landmarks, everything will be fine. Don't get too attached to your Vatican City. Just let Godzilla do his thing, and Kong is fucked off to a hole in the ground, and he's happy down there, and maybe he'll come back. I don't know.
We've come a far away from the nuclear metaphor. Like, I'm kind of wondering, like in the Monsterverse, what I know it's pointless to like look for the deeper meaning, but I can't help it. Like, I don't know. It's that sense of, like I said, I do like the slightly Malthusian sense of human futility, that like nature's gonna return with a vengeance. And I'm not saying we deserve it, but yeah, it's delightful to watch all of those Rio de Janeiro resorts get like turned into ice in like one sweep of a head.
As long as he doesn't touch our Christ the Redeemer.
But they tease it. Maybe it will. You don't know. They had no problem destroying the pyramids.
He'll destroy the touchdown Jesus statue at Notre Dame.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Did we miss anything? Any beef plots or moments that are worth pointing out?
Let's see. Brian Tyree Henry's just there because people like Brian Tyree Henry, and I'm fine with that. Dan Stevens really doesn't do a whole lot in the movie. I mean, apart from taking out, the infected tooth. I can't believe it's a thing. He doesn't really do a lot. There's no real, there's no romantic B plot or anything with him and Rebecca Hall, except that they used to know each other in college.
Yeah, well, he had at least one tender moment with Brian. Like,
yeah. He had the romantic subplot with Brian Tyree Henry. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that and Pink Godzilla this is a stealth, pride film. I think we need to. This goes in the canon along. Along with the gay classics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's just John Waters stealth directed this film.
I am glad that they left Millie Bobby Brown behind. I mean,
yeah,
not that she was like bad in the previous movies, But
They leaned way too much on the human cast in the first few of these Godzilla movies, and
yeah.
I think at some point they realized, okay, we need to keep the human cast to a minimum. Like, if they could get away with no humans, because I mean, the mocap on King Kong, I mean, you don't need to know what he's saying. Like,
Yeah.
he does some sign language with the Iwi girl, but other than that, it's like you know what he's thinking, you know what he's about to go do at any given moment, and that's not impressive, right?
It's
Like,
good. It's
yeah,
really good.
yeah,
The Kong emotionality was in a lot of ways is kind of the emotional center of the movie.
yeah.
He's lonely. He's looking for like his people. He finds them. He rescues them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's the hero we need.
He is
Hero
cool.
for our time.
All right. So yeah, I think a wholehearted thumbs up from both of us.
Oh yeah.
But definitely, bring the right attitude, because you'll need it. And
Right edible.
yeah, that too. Well, gosh, what's next? I have a confession to make. On 4th of July, I was listening to fireworks, not able to go to sleep, and I was like flipping channels, and I watched the G.I. Joe movie, Rise of Cobra. Speaking of movies that are just like based on toy lines.
80s toy commercials. Yeah.
And I have to say I really enjoyed it. I was surprised at myself. It was bad. It was capital B
Yeah.
bad, but I was in the
I
right
remember.
place and in the right space
Okay.
where mostly thanks to like Joseph Gordon-Levitt like chewing scenery,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Strike a chord. It's probably not worth podcasting over. I don't think we could squeeze much out of that sponge.
Well, we didn't announce this one going in from last week.
We don't.
Yeah.
It was okay. Well,
People,
we'll come up with
yeah,
something offline for next week.
follow us on social media, and you'll be the first to find out what we're watching for our next episode. Sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, then plug your socials. That's what we are supposed to do at the end of this.
Yep, shiny failure on all the things. Your ex, formerly Twitter. What is that new one? The
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an even newer one.
The Kara is like the
No
new artist
Space,
one.
or I think it's called.
Oh God, who can keep track?
Yeah.
I'm Cobalt Style on most of those things. I'm certainly not really on Twitter anymore at this point. Yeah. Look us up. Chances are, if you're watching this, is because you know us. So peace out, friends.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys. And I demand Gamera in the next movie.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Good night and good luck, as they say. And stop.